Are you stuck? How about unhappy? Join Alena Chapman, author, mentor, and life coach for Magical Moments with Alena as she challenges you to get out of the doldrum and start living your life to the fullest. In just 60 minutes, Alena will help you take control of your life and push you to do the things you never thought you'd do. So get ready to take back your power and celebrate life with Magical Moments featuring Alena Chapman.
Welcome to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and as you know, folks, this is all about that ease and betterment in your life. And I'll tell you what, I have a little bit of an interesting magical nugget today. I want you to consider something that could potentially transform your life in itself. Really, I'm serious. I have often had this question in my mind, like for years and years, actually. I am. What does that mean? And I have come to the realization that the I and I am that we use so often, so proudly, stayed out there with just such matter of fact, is an illusion. And even more than that, that illusion that we put ourselves in then alters everything we see in our life, everything and how we respond to the world outside of us and nature. Now, some of you are listening to this extremely early in the morning and you're thinking, Alena. Well, let's talk about that, okay? Because this is really big, guys. You know, it's interesting. When I was growing up, there were always labels of who I am. I am this, I am that, I am a singer, I am a daughter, I am a mother, I am I'm an archery person, I'm a canoeing instructor, I'm a professor, I'm a spiritual thought leader or spiritual curator or whatever. Now, let's talk. When you ask me who I am, I have a hard time with that. Yeah, I know what I do. I mean, I know that I connect people to their higher consciousness. I know I connect people to what I call their soul in incredible ways, and then to divinity. So I know that, but what is that? I do that. That's not who I am. There's a big difference. When we put ourselves, well, let me put it this way. I think of myself as light. I think of myself as that vastness I experience. I think of this incredible, boundless energy and feeling of just being happy. And that's where I would like to stay. And it's funny, when I think of myself that way, I don't have limitations. I don't think of all the other stuff that people want to label me as. I think of myself as ever evolving, ever growing. Now, you'll say, wow, that's there, but what about everyday life? Oh my gosh, it means everything in everyday life. Because in everyday life, that means I am not pinned in a box of labels, that my perception is not pinned in a box of labels of who I am. I am not pinned in being just a spiritual curator or just a spiritual thought leader, which that's kind of vast in itself. I guess I could take that one if I wanted. But I'm not just a teacher. I'm not just whatever. I'm not just a mother. I'm not defined by anything. And by not being defined, there is an incredible freedom of allowing yourself to just be you in all the glory that you are. And there's an incredible thing that happens then, because you're not trying to fit yourself into a square hole when you're a circle. Instead, when you find out that you just be as you truly are, then all of a sudden, and I'm talking about the beauty inside you, the you, not all the garbage, the you, the one that has the hopes and the dreams, the one that sees life as something that they can start going for, the one that can feel that happiness. When we start to open up and just be, then all of a sudden our gifts start to come forward. And that's what we start leading with. Just living by our gifts. And honestly, that's what brings in all abundance and joy. You might try it today. What labels are you holding on to? What are you holding on to? What are you defining yourself as? Is it really serving you, or is it pinning you in? Interesting concept, isn't it? Today, I have a wonderful person coming on. Oh, her name, well, just a minute, I'm going to pull up her bio here. Alexsys Thompson. Now, she has been on 30-Minute Moments when I had that, but this, I'm very excited because Alexa is going to show us how to bring out those gifts in our roles of leadership. Okay? Now, that's an interesting concept in itself. Let me ask you these questions. Do you have a division who you are as a business leader and who you are as a spouse, friend, sister, brother, mother, and father? Interesting, isn't it? The awareness of the division that exists within you and the roles you play creates space for your inner voice. This inner voice is seeking your attention and hinting there is better, easier ways of leading and being. Oh my gosh, your gifts. Alexsys Thomas is here today to share how to begin integrating who you are and how you lead. I say even how you be. Through her experience with this disconnect in her own leadership and having coached hundreds of leaders in their integration journey, Alexsys offers tools and some relatable stories, which I love, to support everyone in their journey towards becoming an integrated and graceful leader. I love it. And with that, I'd like to bring her on. Alexsys, hello.
Hi, thank you.
How are you today?
I'm fabulous. Thank you for asking. And yourself?
I am doing wonderfully. Absolutely wonderful. All right. So here we are. We are on a new frontier. You know, we are starting to get back out into the world. We are starting to create. We have the opportunity to start creating our new world, ours, you know? And with that, defining ourselves. And for those of us who are in leadership, leadership in itself, I'll tell you, all because you're named a CEO of something, or all because you're made to be a leader in some group, you might not have even asked for it. and all of a sudden you're expected to lead. Well, what is leading? I would love to start with that. What is being a leader in general? What is that?
Oh, well, it's a lot of things. And so it can be in the context that you set up in an organization or community. It is the responsibility, hopefully self-selected, not always, to influence and guide and create a path towards a future state of being. Oftentimes in corporate America, we look at that in the form of results. But it could be in community. We're looking to, in our area, there's some things around schools and not having enough enrollment. And the leaders in that space are leading people to a new way of educating and a new way of harnessing our youth. So it could be many different things, but you're helping people move from a current state to a future state.
I love that definition. Okay. And there's many ways to do that. Many. Mm-hmm. Now, you had your own journey. Can you tell everyone the story a little bit so we can give it some context of where you're coming from?
Sure. I have been an entrepreneur for many years, and I had a small boutique consulting firm in Texas. I lived there for over 20 years.
Wow.
And I was thriving and enjoying most of it. Entrepreneurialism, you don't enjoy every part, but most of it.
Yes. There are moments, aren't there?
Yes, there are. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to have some competency in many areas, but you're not an expert in all of them. So finding a good team is crucial. So I had an awakening through my gratitude practice that it was time to do something different. I could do what I was doing and do it well and have success, it wasn't what my heart was yearning to do and be anymore in the world. So I made a decision to start looking for a place to be outside of Texas and started on the West Coast and thought for sure I would end up over there somewhere. That didn't manifest, and I found myself back on the East Coast, back in my home state, and pivoting my business significantly and starting to create physical space for safe places for souls to show up, not just in a coaching or a virtual world anymore.
Oh, how very cool.
So that's kind of my journey, yeah.
I love it. Interesting. And you thought it was going to be on the West Coast, but but it didn't. What happened there?
Yeah, so I've gotten, which I believe you'll totally align with, I've gotten very good at following my inner guidance system and intuition.
Yeah.
So when we went to the West Coast and we looked at so many beautiful properties, and none of them sang a song to me. And so I came back here in October, which is always a beautiful time to come to New England. And we looked at a couple of pieces of property thinking summer camp. Summers in Vermont are magical.
Oh, aren't they? And I have to agree with that. Yeah. There's no place like Vermont in the summer. And now I'm going to get tons of notes saying, Alena, no. But really, I love the Vermont summers. I love them. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the intention, was to just kind of be here a little bit. But then by happenstance, we, as life will unfold if you'll get out of the way, we got tuned into a piece of property that wasn't even listed for sale. And we came up and looked at it, and it both Carrie and I in the same moment knew this was where we were going to be.
Aww.
And it was a resounding yes in every cell of our bodies, and so that's how we got back here. And we've had our second full winter, and it's been nothing short of magical all 4 seasons. I'd forgotten, honestly, how much I missed the season changes.
Fabulous. I know. I love the season changes too. I know. All right. So getting back on the business half of it. All right. Mm-hmm. So how, and we even said it, people that we do things and you just said something about the labels that reminded me of the labels and who we think we are. So when we become leaders, how does that, just let's do a scenario for people, because it's fine to put it in how it ends up. But when I don't think people understand how the illusion of who they think they are really can either help being a leader or really destroy the company. It's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a leader's biggest journey is inward. And
I love that phrase right there. You better define that a little bit more right there.
Yeah, so in my coaching practice, that's what I spend all my time doing, basically, is helping a leader be still long enough to understand that they're layered and that they most likely, like all of us, have one mask after another based upon the role that we're playing, much like you outlined earlier, and integrating those masks so that they're more aligned to the essence of that which we are here to be. It's the game you're up to.
Yes.
And that process there's times where it's extremely serendipitous and flow and abundant, and there's equally times where it's really scary and unhinging and can spin you into a scarcity mindset. So, but that is the path of every leader, because in order to lead in the new world that we're co-creating, all of us are doing together, whether we are conscious or unconscious of it, having a heart-centered, essence-centered way of being is the new path forward for all the work that we do in the world, who we are being in the world, and what we're doing and how we're doing it in the world. And so, yeah. I
do believe that. With this journey in, I mean, it's funny because, I'm sure there's a lot of leaders out there saying, well, I lead just fine and I get my workers to work. And then you have the others that are saying, well, gosh, what is this leadership thing? But the ones that only want to do it one way. I mean, I'm a leader. I mean, in my own business, I have my own business. When you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business. You are a leader. When you lead a choir, you are a leader. When you're a teacher, you are a leader, believe it or not. We don't think of ourselves as that so often. But when we are a leader, I mean, number one, when you think of that label, you think of someone who can rule. In society, that's kind of the thing, to rule, to get people to do things that they really sometimes don't want to do. You are, so you are in this, how do I want to say it to be really accurate? When you are in that role, and you say, I'm a leader, you come up with things, I got to be able to delegate, I need to motivate, I need to keep people accountable, keep profits coming in, I need to, do you see that there's a list of things that they think of? And when you go inward, all right, that's leaving that world and starting to go inside yourself and start doing the self-discovery stuff. I can see where they're very proactive people. All of us, especially entrepreneurs, very proactive, or else we wouldn't have started a business. We wouldn't have started our dream. So here we are, all of a sudden having to back up, sit down, and start to figure out myself. That sounds horrid. To a lot of people, it does. So when they're starting to do this self-discovery and peel this onion back, give us for instance of what they find sometimes, and what does it lead to?
So, it's a great inquiry. So there's so many things that get uncovered depending upon where that person is in their own journey. So sometimes in the very beginning of the journey, you have a lot of ahas around how your life, what you do, and who you're being in the world are so incongruent that it is kind of scary.
Yeah.
Sometimes in that process, people will say, oh my gosh, I spent my whole life to be a doctor, and all I want to do is go save animals. Mm-hmm. And
that's a big one,
It is, and it happens a lot. So it does. What this does not mean, which to help people be a little bit more willing to take the journey, it doesn't mean you throw away your current life for this whole other life, and yet sometimes that may be the outcome. But more often than not, there's huge integration points between what you're doing. Your soul is not a silly thing. It didn't usually create you to come be a doctor because that was useless time and space for you.
No, not at all.
Right? So it's guiding you whether or not it's in a conscious way or not.
Yeah, and the whole universe is.
Yeah.
I mean, you are being guided. It's just what way do you want to go, the long road or the short road, you know?
Yeah.
Easy road or the hard road? What do you want to do? Yeah.
And oftentimes when people are called to look within, they're just looking to take an assessment to understand more clearly why they're here, you know, what their contract is, and are they on task? Are they on path? And there's really key points in people's lives where this is pretty, you know, we don't call it midlife crisis for no reason.
Right.
There's points in people's lives, usually at the turn of every decade, where you sit back and go, this isn't what I thought it would be, or this is exactly what I thought it would be, but it's not really what I want. And in those moments, those are the invitations to go within to really start to align and understand your grace center so that you have that team and that space for discerning that day forward and making sure that you have alignment and integration more and more every day than you did the day before.
I think you really drew upon the right thing right there. You said, you know, sometime when we were talking about how you might do this work and then all of a sudden, okay, here I am, a CEO of a big company, and I want to open a flower shop. You know, and all of a sudden you get this big turn. Now, you and I, both of us, have had that kind of realization. But for someone who hasn't, that's really scary. I mean, really scary. Here I've built my whole life on this premise. These are the labels I live. This is the world I have created. There are people depending on me. I can't just go change like the wind. I can't just go do what my soul wants me to do. You know, those are the things that you hear from them. And I get their point. It's fear. It's downright fear. It's like a terror barrier because it's like, or what some people call a tower moment where everything comes down. It is a place where you are doing a change. And what happens, but let's think about what happens if we have that. They say you can never go back. And that's true. Once you know something, you cannot unlearn it. And so if I come to the realization that things are just not working, I'm not feeling fulfilled, I'm not feeling like I can, this is not lighting my fire in any way, then what can we say that makes that step a little easier?
I actually think it's what you don't do or do, depending upon your position in the world, that's more important than what we can say. For me and for so many others, you just sit still. When you're unsure and you have an unsettling, often a tragedy can be a cause for this catalyst, is to just be really, really still and not get into action right away.
Yes. Wise words. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. It is that stillness, isn't it?
Yes. You know, you had started off speaking about all of these leaders that are having to help us navigate back to work, and what will that look like, right? And I shared in an article recently that the number one thing is to be still. There's nothing to do until you figure it out, and people will just move into action out of reaction. And sometimes, more often than not, there's more cleanup on the other side.
It's that yin and yang. It's that yin and yang inside of us, and for people out there, I want to explain that concept because that's exactly what we're talking about. The yang is the doer, the maker, the make it happen kind of thing. We need it. We need that. It's thought of as the masculine energy. It's the one that gets out there and takes the action, and it's great. But alone, it can run around in circles chasing its tail, do useless things, be like a bull in a china shop. because it doesn't have its inner guidance. The yin is the stillness. It's where you contemplate, you come up with the ideas, the plan, the strategy, the beginning of the how, the reason for being. The whole structure of it comes from the yin, which is the feminine side. And all by itself, it's not good, because then you sit in that preparatory state of just sitting in that room with the candles every day and you never take action. However, if with it working with the yang and the yang working with the yin, both sides of you, then all of a sudden you get a full integration. And it's solid, it's thoughtful, it's knows the steps that are going forward, and there's an assurance in you. We don't think of that. We either think we have to go plowing through, but you got to take the time to access that yin, that side of stillness, that side of, because without it, you're just going to be a bull in a china shop, basically. You know?
Yeah, oftentimes that is how it shows up.
It really does. Yeah. Now, you came upon your revelation with gratitude. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I would say that gratitude's been the entry for the past almost 2 decades of my life into every single thing about who I'm being. And when I say that, what I'm trying to express here is that it shifted my mindset pretty significantly. I wouldn't say that I was necessarily a negative or looked at everything that wasn't working, although I could certainly get in that mess with anyone. But when I started to shift into my gratitude practice and really anchor that way of beingness in the world, new possibilities started to show up in weird and magical and exciting ways that I am really assured would never have been able. It's not that they wouldn't have showed up. I wouldn't have been able to see them.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
So as they're moving across, and you start to have a gratitude practice, your mindfulness and the decisions that you make are more connected and congruent as you start to see the patterning of your gratitude, which is, for example, my story is, in my gratitude practice, I had many entries for fresh air, mountains, and fresh water. I'm sitting in a suburb of Houston that has none of those things. and that was a reckoning moment for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm thriving financially, and I had really great relationships in Texas, but I couldn't get those things that were starting to come to the forefront. And so in that reckoning, I was like, oh, I guess I'm moving. And even then, honestly, I didn't move out of Texas. I just went west a little bit where there were some hills, but no mountains. The water was fresher, but not necessarily terribly clean. So even then I took baby steps because I was still fighting the internal fear of what happens if I leave Texas, where I've made a reputation and a way of living here. So these things take time, and it goes back to that stillness place.
I love that. I love it. We're going to have to take a break, but I think you're onto something, because when I made my changes, it was the same thing with the gratitude. Well, I'll tell you that story. Gratitude and 2 glasses of wine.
Okay.
But we will be right back.
This is Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, helping you find your ease and betterment. Stay tuned for more of this week's featured interview.
Welcome back to Magical Moments for that ease and betterment in your life, and it comes in many shapes and many forms. But anyway, Alexsys, we have been talking about the gratitude. Gratitude is, we all talk about gratitude, but that's because it is amazing. Gratitude can change your whole attitude. I wrote a little book when I first started because I was so enthralled with it, a tiny little ebook called Gratitude, the Attitude Changer.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So now, but I'm going to let you describe. I know, but I want you to tell the listeners, why does gratitude work so wonderfully?
Because it brings back awe and wonder into your life. So
yes.
when you, and that literally changes everything, because it gives you this ability to pause. And in the pause is where all the yummy stuff is.
It is.
And so it is. It's so delicious in those spaces. And we live in a world that definitely doesn't honor or help us to figure out how to produce those pauses or awe moments. So our gratitude practice is just a really rapid entry point for creating those open spaces in your life. And the reason for open spaces is for creativity and possibility to exist and cultivate itself in your life.
Yeah, and that's humongous. I think with gratitude, you're 100% right. I couldn't have said it better. I think with gratitude, we do bring in, that gratitude. And the reason why is because we start to get on that vibration. And we've stopped and paused, and we're starting to see that wonder. And anytime you stop and pause with gratefulness, or not just gratefulness, but wonder, and looking at the sky. I always look at the sky. I just, even driving in, I just have a thing about that sky. And today it was glorious with the sun just peeking through the clouds and the rays coming down. I always feel like, God is blessing the world. I always just feel that, and I mean, how can you not feel wonder? But if you're caught in your little circle of, I got to do this, I got to do that, and oh my gosh, and this is happening, what am I going to do about this? And you get into a bubble. I think gratitude just takes you out of that damn bubble. You know? That terrible, yucky bubble. And that's a label bubble, and it's a yucky bubble because it just keeps you tight in this world of, I have to, I am, and this is what I'm doing. And that's it. Now, oh my gosh, I always have to worry about this and this and this in this bubble. It's a really small bubble. It's like a fishbowl, guys. You got to get out of it. You got to step out. It is,
Yeah.
One step out, and there's the sky, and gratitude is the key. Yeah,
and a lot of times when, especially this past year, it's been challenging at different levels for different people, right?
Right.
So when you are in a world that feels like it's closing in around you, which I think a lot of people have had the experience of, literally.
Yes.
And you can take your mind and let your mind and your heart go on a journey into the depths of gratitude, and not from a place of placating or gaslighting yourself. I mean, really go to those reverent places. You can shift that, 10 by 12 space that you feel stuck in into a trip to Paris, or into, the new possibility for a new business or a health practice. I've seen so many people do it.
Yeah.
And it's just gratitude's been a lifeline for so many people this past year.
I'm going to tell a quick story on this gratitude thing, because this was one thing that when I first started to investigate meditation, which truly can be an investigation. I remember when I first went and I did my first meditation where they just started playing something and you're supposed to do what you're doing. For me, that's really hard at that time because my mind was filled with ideas. But at that particular time, I was embarking on a very, very, very hard divorce. And so I remember closing my eyes, and the only thing I saw was black. I could not elevate from the black. I could not get myself above it. I could not get myself seeing anything, just black. And I thought, well, this is not fun. And so I didn't want to meditate anymore. And then it was a friend of mine who said, you're going to be going on, this is not going to be fun, and you know it. But it's something you got to do. You feel you got to do, and it was. And she said, well, why don't you try gratitude? And I said, what do you mean gratitude? And that's when I learned a serious gratitude practice. And when I started doing it, I thought, life is not that bad. My life is, it's going to be okay. I've got this checked off. I got this checked off. Thank you for this person coming into my life. Thank you for my kids being healthy. Thank you for us being able to find a solution to this. All of a sudden, the goodness of my life started to open up, even though I was embarking on a pretty tough time. And that lasted 5.5 years. It was not a good time. But I'll tell you what, the gratitude, next time I went to meditate, I was able to see light. I was able to hear things, my inner voice. I was able to open up. The black was gone. Isn't that interesting?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good example of access, right?
Yes.
So gratitude opens up pathways neurologically, spiritually, and usually at the same time. So you have access to spaces and places, both within and without, that you didn't have prior. Yeah.
I stepped out of the bubble.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Yeah, gratitude is like a key. It's something that we should all be doing. Yeah, I was going to tell you that story. Do you want to hear that one? That one?
Yeah.
Okay, so you did your gratitude and you got your business and thinking, okay, now I want to do something else and I want hills and mountains. I do that too. And so then you took a baby step, which, oh my gosh, my listeners and my clients know I always talk about strategic baby steps. And that's what you did, Alexsys. All right, so I was in New York. I have always been doing mindset forever and ever and ever. And I was in New York, and we had gone with Elizabeth Gilbert of Eat, Pray, Love, and she was doing the Inevitable You with me, that program. And we were designing your life, changing your mindset. And anyway, I remember she was flirting with all this magical ideas and concepts, but not telling the people like fully on. And so I went to dinner with my friend Chad and his wife Tara at this wonderful, quaint Italian restaurant I love New York. And I'm sitting there sipping, and then I had another glass of wine. And I'm not driving, I'm walking. You walk everywhere in New York. And I said, and all of a sudden I said, it wasn't fair of her to just flirt with those ideas. And Chad said, what do you mean? And I said, well, obviously she lives there. She lives in that magical world. You can hear her, but she's not sharing it with anyone. Well, neither was I, but that was beside the point. And he goes, well, Alena, where do you live? And I then just let him have it. I told him everything about where I live in my spiritual world and the magic I live true awesome magic. And they said, why aren't you teaching this? And that's how I stepped out of my bubble there. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I tell you, you never know. I think you just have to be open. You have to be open to the possibilities. That's where gratitude gets you.
Yes, it keeps you open.
It keeps you open. So, all right, let's graduate from this wonderful moment and talk about, okay, so here I am a leader, or here I am maybe opening my own entrepreneurship, and I've got my gratitude, I got that, and I've done my introspection, but how can this help us, even if we're staying in? Maybe we've got a company. Maybe what made me come to you, Alexsys, is because my company is just disruptive all over. I mean, I got I've got maybe a sexual harassment thing going on. Maybe I've got people who are not doing their work. Maybe people just don't get along. How in the heck is gratitude going to help me with that? Or how is anything going to help me with that? The introspection.
Well, I think if you're leading in an organization that's struggling in those areas, or any area, that pause comes in again, right? I'm not talking like going on to a mountain and sitting there for a month. I mean, being still for an hour would be awesome. I'm really taking pen to paper or on your keyboard, whatever you prefer, and starting to really ask the question what your role is in the dysfunction that you're experiencing.
I like that. I like that.
Most leaders will not sit back and say, what is my role in this? They project and transfer the blame or the shame or the frustration onto whoever other is. So
Yeah.
coming back into your own self and understanding what your role is in that, because you're the leader, you have some, even if it's absenteeism could be the thing, and you don't recognize that. That's step one. Then from there, you can chart a course out. And you may need some support, whether it's, in a mastermind group, a coach, a friend. But leading can be lonely, and you'll need to bounce some of those things off of someone that doesn't have anything to risk in the conversation with you.
Oh my gosh, you brought up two incredible things. Number one, I love the first thing of sitting down and then you notice, maybe you do write down being absent, and just letting things roll and created chaos. And you realize that and you think, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible leader, but let that go.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to do you any good. Now you just put yourself in a guilt category and you're just you can't wade in that. That doesn't work. So it's looking at it objectively and saying, wow, I've been absent from this. This is not good. This needs to change. And that's something you can control and you can take hold of and do something about. But you also talked about, oh gosh, and now I forgot my second point, guys. But I think just let's deal with that one, and I'm sure the other one will come back. If you start to take this and you see, oh, I remember having someone to talk to. Oh my gosh, that's humongous, folks. When you're an entrepreneur or you're a CEO or you're someone who is leading, sometimes there is no one to talk to. You must have a soundboard. You have to have someone. I mean, I have my friend Erin. That poor girl, I swear to God. I call her and I text her at all these weird times. Hey, I want to bounce this off you. Hey, I want to bounce this off you. You need to have someone in your world that you trust. It's important, and it gives you it's a support ally. And Alexa, that's incredible. So let's talk about that, taking back control in that company, because we got that person seeing that absent. He was absent. So what can he do? How can he change from, okay, I'm there, but how do I get my company in order? Yeah.
So if it's the owner, let's say, or a senior level leader in the organization, then he has most likely at least one, and maybe more than one person that he is or needs to be delegating to.
Yes.
So that the work isn't happening just from the position of him, typically because one of the biggest things that we see at that space is that they're a bottleneck. Right? When you're leading, you're leading from a vision and influencing position, and then you turn around to your people, and they actually need details. I know that frustrates leaders in order to how to execute. And so having a team that runs with you, if you look at it from a hierarchical position, they might be your direct reports, but they could also be a peer group where you guys come together and they create strategy and planfulness, so that work disperses across many rather than just from one.
Like a mastermind.
That was a big hurdle for me. Yeah, it could be an internal mastermind. It could anybody that you're able to delegate some workflow to get things moving again. Most often, there's a blockage in the system, and the leader's job is to identify where it is. The fastest way often to do that is to create the motion, and the motion will tell you where it's blocked.
Why was it the hardest thing for you?
Because I'm a pretty heady person, meaning I spend a lot of time in my brain.
Me too.
I would think that I communicated the request, and I either didn't do it at all, or I did it really poorly.
Oh yeah.
No one asked for qualifying. No one asked for any clarity, so I just assumed it was done and moved on to the next best thing.
Oh my gosh, we're a lot alike.
Yeah.
Yep. In my head, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's getting it out to the people. Yeah, it's very interesting. But when you figure that out about yourself, and again, that's sitting and saying, well, maybe I'm not communicating the best way I could. You know, those are the things that you have to be objective about. And they're also, the good news is those are things, once you realize that you can control, you know, you can change.
Yes.
If you need to.
You have the choice every day to be something different than you were 5 minutes ago.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. And then, you know, and if you take it one step at a time, you can turn anything around.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I used to, I remember when I used to do church choirs. You know, I did that on the side. I love church choirs. I just love them. They're so much fun because everybody's there volunteer, you know, and they want to do their best. But anyway, they would send me to church choirs that really were behavioral problems. And sometimes those, you know, some conductors would even walk out. And, you know, Alexsys, I would get in there and I could see the problem just like that. And you give me 15 minutes to 30 minutes and I'd have that choir turned around. Mm-hmm. That was a knack, but it took coming outside of myself. No one was at fault, never going that route. I was going to come in and take over. Right. It was listening and seeing who was playing what role. Mm-hmm. And then when you had it, it's a volunteer choir. You don't have to say behave. You turn around and you joke with them. So you're going to be the thorn in my side. And then when you laugh, it softens everything. And before you know it, they're laughing too. And it fixes the choir. There's humor. There's fun. It's creating. It's all in how you go in. You have to learn. I think what you're doing when you get quiet is you're learning your leadership style. Yes. Yes. That's going to work. Yeah, because hopefully you go within, and then when you come without, you're looking around, scanning the situation, because each situation is going to call for potentially a different version of you. Totally. To step forward. So where humor works with one choir, it may be sabotaging in another one. Exactly. Sometimes it can erupt in another one, you know? Yeah, you get everybody acting up. It all depends on the dynamic of the group. Yeah, it's having that sense. I think what sitting, you know, that reflection and that sitting does, it brings us back to ourself and discovering ourselves. But and it gives us a centering. Yes, that's a great word. Yeah, that centering. From the Tao, you know, they have this thing that they say. They have this meditation that you do, especially if you do any kind of martial arts. It's that very calm interior, very calm, still centered heart, but the eyes like a tiger. You spot everything. You know everything. And that's how you are. That's when you're a leader, that's the position you want to have. That calmness helps you have that thinking, that solution problem, that always being there, but you're sharp. You see everything. Mm-hmm. And you react. It doesn't have to be harsh because, like you said, everything calls for something different. But you are always there. And I think that's kind of the best way to be in life in general, you know? It definitely allows for in the book that I wrote, it allows for grace to enter. That stillness is a portal, specifically if you turn the key of gratitude for grace to come in and have its way with you. And that's a beautiful moment when you'll surrender into that. Well, talk a little more about the grace. We know it makes us feel good. We know it, but talk about the grace. Yeah. So when you're in your grace center, and whether you're leading just your own divine life, right? You're designing a life that you want to live versus just the one that you keep reacting into. Grace, I've been there, right? We all have. We all have moments of that, maybe lifetimes of that. But it allows you, actually it gives you the honor of the recreation space. And so
the tenets that I've shared here, which I'm guessing you're pretty aligned with how you do who you are in the world, but it starts with integrating your mind, body, and soul. And that in the beginning, I used to think that was like, hey, let's get a yoga practice, because that was what I thought of about how to hook those things together.
Yes.
And that certainly was a great place for me specifically to start to understand that. And then the next one is evolving, right? It's the alignment of the soul and the self. So ego and soul, another way to say it.
Yeah.
And then really, once you have the alignment, you can start to drop into transparency, which is probably for me, I don't know for others, was some of the scariest parts for me. This is where I had a lot of friction. I was okay to align myself. My walk and my talk have most of my life been pretty congruent, but to allow others to see that and to witness into that has been challenging for me.
Really?
Yeah, it feels really vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then there's a part in here where those labels you were talking about.
Yes.
In this tenet, there's a space where it says don't base sense of self in labels or others' perception.
Yes.
And this is a ripping off of a lot of things, because those labels, whether someone gave it to it or we self-identify, they are identity. And when those things start to fall away, there's sometimes definitely at a micro, and sometimes for some of us macro experience of a lot of identity crisis. Like, if I'm not that, then who am I? If I'm not mom, well, who am I?
Yes.
That's a really deep inquiry.
It is a deep inquiry. It really is. It's really, but it's also one of the most beneficial ones in the whole wide world. Because if you can strip off that's where all your options, your opportunities, that's where the world begins. That's where the world begins. But it's funny. We always blame others for giving us those labels. I did, and I'm saying everyone, but it was me. But my youngest son one day comes downstairs and says, okay, I get social anxiety and I'm an introvert. And I'm looking at this kid and I'm thinking, where did you get that? Where in the heck? Where is my little love bug, my little cuddle bear, my guy who was always the first one out the door to play and the one who had all the friends, and what is the disconnect here? And where did you get that? And it still blows my mind. I said, honey, whoa, put the brakes on that. Don't limit yourself in that way. But yet that's something he has come to. He thinks that's what he is. And I'm like, oh my God, you self-impose these. Sometimes we do that. Stop. Which is what I told him. Stop.
Yeah, well, I mean,
give yourself a chance.
Yeah, for sure. Create some love and gratitude and grace for yourself. But
yes.
The dilemma I will say I've been victim to, or I've chosen to be victim to sometimes, is the what's wrong with me, right? I'm not worthy, I don't belong, all the things.
Oh, I know.
And then you go hit Google, right? And you say whatever you say in Google, and it comes back with an answer, and you're like, yeah, okay, I must be the thing.
Oh, God, I know.
It's a really strange phenomenon that we do for ourselves.
I know. Google. Oh, God, Google. I'll tell you what. I've learned not to get on Google. If I get on Google, at least not about myself. Don't go there, folks. Just don't go there. Yeah. You have to go inside. You have to go inside. And
that's the only way.
It is. You have really, I know people say it and you say, no. Yes, you have all the answers and more inside. You can solve any problem or know how to get the answers. And it's not always Google.
Well, I would say it's never Google.
No, it's really not. You have to go inside. And whether that's walking in the woods daily, and yes, daily, because it's like a meditation, and just sitting and listening to the birds. Today I got a little almond latte, this morning, and I sat down because I didn't have time to go home and I didn't want to surprise the station too early. So I was sitting at my little nature spot, Little River Wetlands, and I'm sitting there with my little almond latte, and I'm starting to write out my questions and stuff. And I look over, and there's this red-winged blackbird, sitting there just looking right at me. He's in the tree right beside me, looking right at me, just singing away, giving me this gift of his song, you know?
Yeah, what a gift. That's awesome.
Isn't that a gift? That is an incredible gift. And I'm just looking at him and I'm thinking, oh my God, I am one of the most blessed people in the world. And you're thinking, Alena, that's very simple. No, you open yourself to the wonder. How many times does a blackbird, just a red-winged blackbird, sit down and look right at you and sing for you?
Yeah.
Now, he's probably saying, stay away from my nest, but that's all right.
Yeah.
He's still noticing and interacting with me. And that is incredible. When we open ourselves up to moments of wonder, do the introspection inside. You know, I do believe the universe is always here helping us. Let's put it that way. You have the whole universe rooting for you. Yes, you honestly do. And when you go inside and you do these gratitudes and you're out in nature and you're just listening and watching, you start to get answers. As soon as I heard that blackbird, I knew that was a gift from the universe. The sun is shining a special way. I thought, I gotta, my nugget has to be opening people to this. Do you see what I'm saying? I do. That's where you get your next move. That's where you get your inspiration. That's where you get how to lead a choir or a country or a world. Let's not get too big there. Okay, guys, we don't need a world dictator. But this is how we bring out our best of ourselves into our world. But we have to know that we have the answers. We just have to take the time to look inside and listen. Yes. It really is that simple.
Yeah, we say that, right? Because you and I are in the midst of that journey. And for someone, so often they're like, yeah, it sounds so simple, but it's so hard. And, you know, when I'm working with leaders and they all develop a gratitude practice, just the resistance that people have with that particular activity never ceases to amaze me. And, you know, I have it. Mine's just different. I have it with my workout program. So it's different for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have to develop your own way. Yeah. Resistance. Well, resistance is only learned, you know. You have to, oh, God, I'm kind of brass tacks and I call a spade kind of thing. And so, yeah, when people say that, I say, well, you're stopping yourself. Ask yourself why you're stopping yourself. What are you scared of? Because if you stop yourself, then you're scared of something. It's not because you think it's useless. No. Don't go there. It's because you're scared of something. So what is it? And then start doing your gratitude. Oh, I'm such a fun coach. Anyway, how do people get hold of you? And also, tell us the name of your book and where they can get it and what it's about more, will you?
Sure. It's called The Power of a Graceful Leader. It's on Amazon, so it's easy to find. And it takes a leader's journey up one notch from servant leadership or conscious leadership. It's practical and action-oriented. After you're still, there are actions in there to help you implement it in your life, and there's 6 tenets to guide you along the way. You can find me at AlexsysThompson.com, and all social media handles the same way.
I love it.
Thanks.
You have been so much fun to have on. When I come to Vermont, darling, I am coming to see you.
I look forward to it. We would love to have you here.
Well, actually, I'm going to be coming probably next summer because my mom passed away and I'm bringing home her ashes. So All my boys are coming too. I've ordered everybody to be with me with this because this is for Nona, So yeah, you might get a call from me. And for everyone,
I love it.
And for everyone out there, guys, all this stuff that we bring to you, all this incredible stuff, and these strategic steps, but really these aren't steps. These are tools that you can use so that you can take the steps that you need in your life. And that's what it really is about. Because what we have to learn is what we are inside is what we are on the outside. We just don't know it. And we think we're being so secretive, but we're not. And so when we learn what we are on the inside, that's when we can have the greatest impact on our world. And that's when the ease and betterment starts coming in. It's erasing all the things that we are not. And learning how to do that is a little bit of a journey, but it's really not that hard. And that's another reason why Inevitable You is a wonderful way to start anything. And it's because it helps you get to that incredible, miraculous, inevitable you inside you with a lot of fun and easy steps to start taking. And every easy baby strategic step, oh my gosh, you get your eyes open, you feel good, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got this. I already feel better. And who doesn't want to learn with me, Elizabeth Gilbert, and Conrad, and all these incredible Dave McAway, who can teach meditation to anybody in the whole wide world. Just incredible teachers. Really, that's the way to go. If you're interested and you're thinking, I do want to kind of look into myself and see what it is that I really want. And I'm not happy and I'm frustrated and I want to design something. Or, geez, I'm crow, I just want to be happy. I want to try something fun. I just don't step out enough to do anything fun. And that's important. Then look on soulmanifesto.com. Become part of our community. We're a loving, loving community. And look at the Inevitable You. It might be just for you. Okay, as always, everything we do, we know that spirit is love, and everything we do, we open up that love for ourselves, our world, our universe, what we're doing, the people. Love, love, love. And the more we do that, every layer we peel off and more love is revealed, the more we live with spirit. And isn't that an incredible life to lead? I love you all. Start taking the steps, guys. Namaste.
This has been Magical Moments with Alena, featuring Alena Chapman. If you missed an episode, download it now on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, CastBox, Deezer, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.
Podcasts by Federated Media.